It's time to strap in and get ready. The leaders in NRL Supercoach are incoming. Bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Brain, Matrix, and Whisperer.
G'day guys, welcome back to the Insight NRL Show. I was about to say the West Tigers Fans podcast, but that might come a little bit later. I'm the Supercoach Brain, and the Supercoach Matrix is not here tonight. He is doing some family stuff, but the Supercoach Whisperer is with me to carry the show as always, mate. How you going? How's your weekend?
Oh, mate, topped off by a pretty good result today. But apart from that, mate, it's been not too bad. I'm seeing a lot of good scores in the chat, and I'm really hoping that people are posting their, combined scores, not their best 13. Otherwise, come 10 o'clock tomorrow, I am in a world of hurt.
Look, we know the rule. If you do well, you post about it. If you don't, you kind of hide. So let's just hope that that's the case. How'd you end up?
I thought I did okay, but I only had 13 players on the dot, which included Pappy, who was not great. Went Eli Katoa over Jerome Hughes, Sam Hughes, Ruben Porter, our boy, despite starting, didn't really do much. I got 903, which I thought was okay. And then I see everyone's posting 1300s, which for my own mental health, I really hope that's them not counting top 13 and that's counting everything. But yeah, saved by Lockie Galvin masterclass. I'm not a Appy owner. I am not a Kaokini or Jaden Campbell, as we all know on this podcast. But 903, mate. How about yourself? I assume that you went much better than that.
I wouldn't say much better. I got 1086. I'm seeing a lot of 1100, 1200 plus in the chat. There's some big ones in here. We've even got Justin P. It might be Justin Pascoe's burner saying that he can't wait for the Tigers podcast. So stick around, Justin. I'm sure that'll come a bit later, but. Yeah, 1086 is not bad. I'm not overly stoked about it, but I'll take it. Anything plus 1050, I think in buy rounds like this is okay. Ended up with David Fafita as my captain, which I don't know whether I feel great about anymore, considering he got downgraded. So I'm a little bit upset about that, but you can't complain when you got Galvin and these guys that performed. Yeah, but I think everybody who went 1200, 1250 plus is an Appy Coruscant owner. So congratulations to all of you out there that had Appy, because he had a blinder today, didn't he? Yeah.
What was it? 3 try assists, a try himself, obviously a million goals. Fantastic from him. Yeah, 147, 1 try, 3 try assists, 2 line break assists, 8 goals and 1 offload and 3 tackle busts, which really does help that score of a whopping 147. But yeah, there's some massive scores this weekend from certain players that we didn't expect to have big scores. And I'm sure we'll get into those today.
Yeah, we will, absolutely. And guys, of course, we're live, so drop your scores in the comments and any questions that you have for the upcoming week. We'll do our best to answer some of them as we go. We don't answer as many questions on a Sunday, but throw them in there and we'll see how we go. And of course, the show is always brought to you by the Standard Squeeze and Ryan from Astute Newstead. Their information is in the description below, and we'll give them a shout out throughout the pod. Subscribe, follow, do all those things. But let's rip into the games, Josh. We had the first one, Storm 30, Dolphins 24. Not a bad way to start the week, but I just felt like the scoreline maybe was a little bit more of it was a cracking finish in the end. I thought that the Storm were going to bottle this one.
Yeah, this wasn't a good game. This was not a fun watch. Highlight about the scores. You had 54 points scored, but no one over 100. Jerome Hughes top scored with a 90 and just continues to deliver without Cam Munster. So well done if you jumped on him. I keep seeing people that are saying, we've got to find money for Cleary, but Cleary's averaging mid-60s this year. Compared to last year, he was averaging, 85 before he had his injury and came back like a house on fire. So it's a big step up for Cleary, but Hughes is doing, wonderful things. There's another New Zealand halfback that people are holding on to that just didn't deliver this week. So Hughes is probably the second best halfback in the game, and it's probably not close at the moment. Unnotable mentions, Will Warbrick, Josh King, 80-81, but Tyrant Wishart just continues to be the gift that keeps on giving. 81 points for him. He's going to be, goodness me, 640k next week, which is just a wild thing to say.
It's insane, isn't it? When Munster obviously went down, he stepped into that role. And we look at his last, 5-6 scores. He's gone 85, 40, 60, 122, 57, and now he's 80 again. I mean, Munster's apparently running again now, which is great for Melbourne Storm to have him back in the team. But I get, like, Tyrone Wishart hasn't missed a beat. Like, you wouldn't overly be upset if you had to rely on Wishart and they came out and said Munster's out for the season. You wouldn't be super upset, really, considering how good Wishart's been for the Storm.
Yeah, of course. So the start of the season at 238K was just sort of plodding along a little bit. Like, you can see there's a couple of 12-minute games, 13-minute games, 10-minute games where he's used sparingly off the bench, and there's a couple of 40s in there. But since he got that 80-minute roll, 85, 40, 60, 122, 57, and then an 81. So he's definitely been absolutely unreal. And if you did jump on him in round 10 when Munster went down and he got that start, then fantastic and well played. But yeah, you basically bought him for 363 and you're going to be able to flip him for probably 650, which is mental. Like, there's been some absolute worldy cash cows this year. We said it whether last week or the week before. You could sell Blaze Talangi. I think it was Blaze Talangi, not Metcalf, Tomato Martin, and some other bum for like 2.1 million. And you can chuck Wishart in there because he's been fantastic. Jack Harris, I thought, was really good. 205K, 38 break even, scored a really nice 60-plus score from him. He was promoted to the wing with Suafalongo going to the bench, which I'm sure would have been devastating for some owners that held on to him as a crucial number. But, Braino, the man of the round, Eli Katoa, we say only got a 58. I'd take that as a promising sign. I didn't think he did a whole lot for the 58.
Base was good. Yeah. I mean, I feel like this was a favourable matchup for him and Hughes as well. Like, Dolphins' left edge has been pretty leaky defensively. They got torn apart, I think, the week before. I can't remember who they played, but they got ripped to shreds the week before. So, looking at Hughes and Katoa probably being one of the most deadly kind of right edge combinations, I think, in attack in the competition. We were hoping that Katoa would feast a little bit more in this game, but yeah, just unfortunate that he didn't get across the line, but he went close. Like, he was targeted on a few kicks. And usually that's the way he scores his tries, off kicks, and it's usually Jerome Hughes that's putting them up. So, yeah, just close enough, but not quite there for the score. But again, Hughes was fine. Rest of scores, I mean, Sean Bloor, 44. It seems like he started to taper off a little bit in recent weeks. They're not going, obviously, anywhere near as left, and maybe Wishart's running game is kind of handcuffed Sean Bloor's game a little bit there, Josh.
Yeah, he's not as involved with what I'd like as an owner. I'm going to hold until 19 because I just need the numbers, and then we can look to flick on. Maddie and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. There's actually a couple of guys. Cam Murray's going to be about 520. You've got and Helam Lukey as well, another one of these guys that are going to bottom out that you could probably flip to. The Sean Bloor experiment probably hasn't been the greatest purchase. I picked him up when he got the start over Chan, probably in, I think it was like round 5 or 6, and he's been fine, but like not the heights that we'd want from Melbourne Edge. 63, 82, 68, 53. It's just up and down. It's just a lot of, it's a Kale syndrome. I feel like it's just like a lot of 50s to 70s without much more behind it. Yeah, probably the biggest talking point though, Ryan Pappenhausen, fantastic seeing him back, scored a try, did get some updates, which was nice. Finished the game on 32, upgraded to a 39, but not what you like to see from your 700k fullback. Was there enough from Pappy for you to not be concerned, or is it more like someone compared him to just a more expensive Tyrell Sloan in one of the posts that I put up, just saying he's got no base, he's not goal kicking, and he's obviously very attack reliant. Yeah,
look, if you're putting the Dragons on the same pedestal as the Storm, then sure, he's the same kind of player, but better player. Storm are in first. They're playing some good footy. I think Cam Munster coming back in the next, I think he's projected to be back by around 20 to 22, I think, based on the way he's ramping up. So I think that's only going to help Pappy on the run home. The only tough thing is, we spoke on Tuesday about the fact that Pappy's draw was favourable over the next 3 weeks, and he might have been a nice little 3-week play. And then they come into their bye in round 19. So just depends like how long you want to hold him for, really. I think if you got him this week, you've got to ride out the next 2 weeks because he plays the Raiders the Raiders who just got fucking thumped by the Tigers, and then he plays the Tigers the week after that. So, whether you believe in bounce back games for the Raiders next week or not, I'm not sure, but I think you've just got to ride it out and just reassess in round 19 because then there will be some really nice fullback options. You've got Turbo coming back from injury if you want to watch a week. You've got and also will be available in the major buy. You've also then got Teddy for the run home. You've got Latrell coming out of Origin. There's going to be some real nice options. Even Ponga coming back from injury from round 20 onwards.
Yeah, we were saying this on Tuesday. There's a lot of these, injured or suspended or, banished fullbacks that are now, coming back. So definitely an interesting time. For me, Pappenhausen was never a long-term play. Let's hope we can capitalize on these next two and then flick him on. For the Storm, not much else to chat about here. Fa'alongo 33 off the bench kind of sucks for owners, and Joe Chan 12. If you needed the 12 points this week, then great. Next week, he's got to be a trade out. For the Dolphins, Kenny Bromwich round back the years, playing on an edge, scored a nice try. Jermaine Sako, 76, putting in a good performance. He was also pretty popular in the buys this week. 119 break even at 650k. Will come down probably another 40k or so. So still could be a great pickup next week. So I think the draw does turn a little bit for the Dolphins, but I still think Asako is good enough to have. I mean, plays the Dragons next week, the Rabbitohs the week after that, into Penrith, and then the Titans and the Roosters, which is not ideal, but has an okay finish to the season. Warriors, Bulldogs, Storm, Broncos, Newcastle. So not the worst. If you can pick him up for around 600k, then you have done a great job there. Your boy that you went to bat to the death for all the way back in round 10, 11 was Trey Fuller. Scored a 60-68. And then the question then becomes, he can't stay in New South Wales Cup, in Queensland Cup. And then it becomes what team looks at him. And you always get these people that flash up, but good for Trey Fuller. Maxi Plath with the 61. Ewan Aitken, again, after we touted him as being Mr. 60, Mr. Consistent week after week, and we said he was a buy last week, has gone back-to-back under 60s week after week. So a great curse there from the Insight Fantasy podcast. His last score under 60 was all the way back in round 7. And he's just gone back-to-back under 60s. So great stuff from us suggesting him as a buy. Herbie Farnsworth. He's interesting because he was also pretty popular. 700k for a guy that is not goal kicking and not a winger in a team whose draw does turn. Like, if you bought him last week, I wouldn't be running out of my way to sell him, but it's a little bit, I wouldn't say concerning, but it's a lot of money to have sitting there for a non-dominant, non-goal kicking, non-winger, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the kind of like the reason why I've faded Joey Manu for the majority of this season. You're right. No goal kicking doesn't kind of bring that base up. They score a lot of points, the Dolphins, but defensively they're not amazing either. So for me, I loved Herbie Farnsworth in the preseason. I was, and I'm still a big fan of Herbie Farnsworth as a player, but I just think that there's probably better options in your center wing. There's guys that have put their hand up this year that have proven to be top 5, top 6 center wings this year with a bit more upside. Like, he's been fantastic, don't get me wrong, but I think now that those first 2 major buys are gone, his value drops. I think if we're talking about Herbie Farnsworth in round 12 or 13, I think he's got plenty of value, and maybe we can say the same for any Dolphins player. But now that 13 and 16 are gone, he kind of just covers round 19 like every other player that covers round 19 now, and even maybe worse, the Dolphins have the buy in round 18. So it's actually not even an amazing draw anymore when you look at it. Like, if you didn't take advantage of the first 2 major buys, maybe I'd probably be looking elsewhere for Dolphins players from now.
Yeah, no, I get that. Are you taking advantage of Tevita Pangai Jr. in his return game with a 34-pointer? It was a bit of a mixed bag. We had 2 effective offloads, 2 ineffective offloads, 0 tackle busts for Tevita Pangai Jr., which is interesting, but a whole lot of errors and on report.
Look, if you want to rewind and have a look at the last couple of episodes, everybody would have known I'm not too keen on Tevita Pangai Jr., but that doesn't mean I'm not scared of him. Because he can come out and he can have fucking 7 effective offloads and a line break and a line break assist and 7 tackle busts and he's scored you 60 in 32 minutes. So he can do that, but I just think he's so far away from being at that level that he was at when he was playing regular football. Now he's back. He's back from playing, doing his little boxing gig, and he just looked a little bit rusty, a little bit unfit. But tell you what, you could tell he was trying to line someone up and he wasn't going to stop until he hit someone. So. Good luck to him.
I guess for anyone that's new to Supercoach that doesn't understand the TPJ fixation, imagine Terrell May on an edge with free will to offload. I remember a game TPJ got 95 points and 54 of them came in offload points. This was 2019 for the Broncos. He had literally 54 points just in offloads, and it was just like that's what you want. But you're right, we're so far away from the days of TPJ being at his best. But who knows? Like maybe if he does build in some match fitness as the season goes on, like he's not the worst front row forward 4 to have. Probably like round 23 for the run home, but you'd have to see a minute improvement from him. Mate, what was this game? Titans 66, Warriors 6. Where'd this come from?
I'll tell you what, though, shout out to the Wires supporters. They're pretty quiet, that's for sure, this week.
Good place to live, New Zealand. It's pretty quiet out there. Yeah,
absolutely. A lot of friends that go snowboarding in New Zealand, and it's on my bucket list of places to visit. But I tell you what, it'll be pretty quiet there this week. So they're out of contention for premiership. Anybody who concedes 50 points, unfortunately, has never won the competition in NRL history. So, So
I just think anyone that concedes 66 to the Titans should just fold.
Yeah, I mean, look, when's the last time 4 Titans players have scored 100 plus Supercoach points? I don't remember that in recent history. So
imagine me sitting here to you saying you've got the VC on for feeder. The Titans score 66 points. You would have thought he's in for a haul, absolute haul. I feel dudded with 84.
Oh, me too. Like even Jerome Hughes got upgraded to 90, and I was kind of weighing up: do I loop Jerome Hughes or do I take Fafita C? And obviously, there's a comment in here from Michael Griffiths: why does Friday games take 3 days to update the player points and Saturdays take less than 24 hours? It is because NRL Supercoach is rigged. Just so everyone knows,
has to be.
It's because Sangster had someone that was a VC option on Saturday, so he wanted to muck around a little bit. But no, you're right. You'd be dudded with 84 from Fafita considering you got a downgrade. But look, in saying that, the popular options this week were Tedesco, Fafita, and Hughes. If you got one of those 3 guys, they all scored within 10 points of each other. You can't really complain. The captain didn't set apart the week this week unless you went with JC or Keeney or something real left field, and you got yourself 340 points. So,
do you have any words of apology to a certain Titans number 6 who you may have written off as a purchase a couple of weeks ago?
No, nothing.
Mate, he's been sensational.
He has been
80 last week, 170 this week, like absolutely unreal. 7 break even this week, so he's gone 163. So he probably 150k price rise. So he'll be well up over 600k, pushing 650. I wouldn't be jumping on now, especially with the news today coming out from Joel Gould, repeated by NRL Physio. Jaden Campbell will go for scans on his hand after it swelled up significantly during the game. Suffered an injury in the 4th minute and had it strapped, but came out and played. Obviously, it didn't hinder him too much, but the Titans are hoping it's not a fracture, but that can't be ruled out at this stage. But if it is a fracture, man, he you wouldn't have known about it yesterday because he was absolutely unreal. 1 try, 3 try assists, 3 line break assists, 1 try contribution, 11 goals, 3 effective offloads, 3 regular offloads, 4 tackle busts, and 20 tackles, which is just absolutely a field day for Jaden Campbell. The most points scored by a Titans player ever. 1 try and 11 goals. If I can do my math, that's 26 points, which is better than a Luke Brooks-led side who scored 0 that we'll talk about in a couple of games' time. But Keeney, again, was sensational. He was great last week in a beaten side. Fantastic this week in a winning side. Just immense. 153 points was unreal. Lofi Khan Pereira. Mate, people talk about this Alex Johnson, Ken Irvine record being untouchable. Lofi Pereira started his career as probably the best you can in terms of to chase that down. So he's up there with leading try scorers this year as well. I've got no interest in picking any of these guys up, but well done if you've held on to them. Kieran 4 and 107. Like, what's going on? And shout out to our resident Supercoach analyst, the Agent Cheese, who was pumping up Brian Kelly stocks all week on Twitter. And it's all well documented. So congratulations to him who owned a Brian Kelly for an 88. But yeah, I do want to just highlight that comment because he makes a good point. So remember when Wisp was going to trade him in, but Braino convinced him otherwise. Just referring to Jaden Campbell again. Just for anyone listening, podcasters just influencing your actions and your trades, guys. Just don't let it happen. Happens to the best of us. And
you've got to stick strong, don't you?
It's not only Jaden Campbell. I think about 10 weeks ago, someone on this podcast said we should look at buying Connor Watson at 330k, and they were laughed at. So just pick your friends close.
Or you know what you can do? There was also a podcaster on here who hates Scott Drinkwater and just wasn't a fan of Scott Drinkwater. Reckons he's a spud.
No, that doesn't count. It only counts when it happens to me.
Does it? Oh, fuck. Because I brought Scott Drinkwater in after you told me not to, and he averaged 100. So this is the difference, right? I just do things anyway. You listen to me, which is your first mistake. So you never listen to me. Never listen to me ever again. For everybody else on the podcast, continue to watch, please. But yeah, for anybody on that actually features on the podcast, I'm a curse. So
so shout out. So I had a listener. I had a listener actually approach me today. Yes, actually, I was out doing some things, and a listener approached me and said, "Oh, you're a Whisperer, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, mate. Look, thanks so much. It's kind of awkward, but thanks for listening." He's like, "Oh, you've been shafted this year. You give good advice, but you never follow it." It's like, yeah, that's pretty much my season summed up to a T. It's just do as I say, not as I do. But David Fafita, yeah, he's the 7th top scorer with 84 points, and that's just absolutely mental. But yeah, I'm still happy. I've got the VC on him, and I took the captaincy as well. So I'm not too upset. I had no one else go bonkers that I was actually looking at. So it's all like if you're a Jaden Campbell owner and you didn't have the VC on him and you go, "Oh, I should have," unless you were seriously considering it, like you can't really be upset. It's not like it's
no way. Like
unless you were seriously considering it, then it's fine.
Yeah, and even then, even if you were considering it and you jumped off, you should be happy. You've got a captain score out of one player without a captaincy. So like that's completely fine, especially in a major buy round too. We're talking round 16 here where players are scraping together 13 or had to fucking boost to get 13 players this week, and you've gone and got 2 or 3 players worth of players in one player. So yeah, you can't be upset. I mean, he's not very well owned anyway, is he? So I'm assuming that anybody that has him will
listen to this podcast.
No, I would have talked you out of
it. For the Warriors, Tomato Martin, 66 points, boosted by that try. Tohu Harris, 64, pretty much all coming through BP. I don't really care about any of these players apart from Chance getting a 36, whatever. And AFB getting a 34 kind of stunk. But we have to scroll and continue to scroll a fair bit to get to the bottom where we see S. Johnson, 9 points.
Yucky. Yeah, shout out to SC Matrix who had the VC on him this week, and that was a clear non-loop.
He didn't take the loop?
No, he did not. No, he had to toss it up, but he didn't take the loop. But hamstring injury as well, from what NRL physios come out and said, that there looks like he pulled up a little bit lean and ended up finishing the game. But yeah, some concerns moving forward for SJ, another lower limb soft tissue injury for him that he can add to the book of soft tissue injuries that is SJ. So yeah, keep an eye out on Tuesday for the team list there for the Wars. Hopefully he can suit up.
Yeah, Warriors hopeful it's just tightness, and SJ will be right to play next week, but always hamstrings are tough to accelerate the rehab from, considering the high injury rate, plus SJ's injury rate that came from the NRL physio. 9 points from him, 141 break even, not ideal. If the Warriors find form, and you don't have Jerome Hughes, is there a world where you pick him up for like 4? Because this will be in his rolling average for a while.
I mean, when are you picking him up? You getting him around 20?
Like around 2021, if you can get him for like 430, 440.
I guess the question becomes, are you picking up a SJ at 430, 440k if he drops, or are you trying to get to a
650?
Yeah, you're trying to get to a Cleary, or you're trying to get to like Hughes will probably be too expensive to grab at that point. But probably the same with Sam Walker.
I think the Hughes sale, the Hughes ship has well and truly sailed.
Yeah.
I'd be looking at SJ at a very reduced rate. Like I'm talking almost 430, or I wait until what's his face? Cleary comes back. He looks any good. I'm very thankful that I've got Plath, Galvin, and Brown just rotating through my 5'8". So I've got good cover there that I can wait a little bit. But yeah, if you've got an SJ, it's like, do you sell? Are you selling SJ now? Because he's going to drop 100k.
If it were me, I would. Personally, especially you mentioned the 9 is now in his rolling average for another couple of weeks, so it's not looking good. He's going to dump a ton of cash now. He's going to be, I think he drops 110k based on Joe Schubert. So he's going to be 490k. He's going to drop under 500k after this week, which is just wild. So yeah, you probably should bail. But again, who do you go to?
Yeah, of course. It's just like, that's the thing. It's like, it's gross. RTS, mate. Fuck yeah. No. This was one of the worst calls I've ever fucking seen. Like, I put a tweet up. I was like, penalty, sure, fine. On report, it's a bit like, really?
It's insane.
And then Sinbin is just like, this is fucking insane. Like, what is going on? Like,
Every
the game
week.
was done. The game was dead and buried. But, like, if this decided a game, man, like, no one's going to talk about this. But, like, if this decided a game, like, if this was 24-20 and RTS gets Sinbin, like, fuck, I'd erupt if I was a Warriors fan. That was fucking dreadful.
I reckon, and the question becomes, would they have sin-binned him if it was 24-20? Was it the scoreline that they've gone, they're not in this anyway? It's just, like.
But wouldn't you just leave him on then?
Every referee, every single game I'm sitting there watching, every week I watch, and there's one stupid call, and I'm like, fuck, the refereeing just keeps getting worse every week. And then you watch this, and I reckon we won't be able to find a worse call than this all year.
No. Look, I follow a couple of relatives. I'm not going to name names, but like there's good relatives of NRL referees getting around on Twitter. I do feel very bad of them because they cop a lot of heat. And I think there was a thing this week that a 19-year-old sent death threats to a referee, and that's just fucking disgraceful. Have a word with yourself. But like that was just, I don't like to ref bash, but it was just like one of the worst calls I have ever seen. Like I said, if you give it a penalty, I'm like, it's a bit much, but whatever, sure. To put it on report, I was like, oh. And then to see it sent us in mid, I was like, this is just absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, 15 points for him. Remember how we said we were going to pick him on vibes? He's been arse. Moving on to another arse game. This was not a great game to watch, but it did the job. Roosters 26, Bulldogs 8 in the pissing down rain at Gosford. It was raining sideways. If you've got the little stinger there, unfortunately didn't have it prepped. But, nah, it's fine. But nice little Team A 110 pointer at the top. 80 minutes. Scored a try with no line break. So, goodness me, if I can do my math, that's 94 points, 93 points, 17 points for a try. Yep, 93 points. BP. Fuck yeah.
You know what? We haven't played it. We haven't played it yet this year, but Terrell May's earned this one.
You gotta give him that huck. Spit on that thing.
Yeah, he does. Absolutely he does. What a freak. 93 points BP. The problem is he's going to score 21 points next week playing 13 minutes off the bench.
Honestly, people are going to see the 110 and want to hold him, and I will be trading.
Normally we do questions at the end, but we've got one starred, and it is from Joey Manu fan. Terrell May to Angus next week, question mark. I don't know if I'd do Angus next week, but I'd definitely be looking at potentially offloading May. I want to see what happens with Origin, like how Collins goes and how Lenu goes and the likes of that before I do make decisions on selling. But
let me tell you why he's asking. Let me tell you why he's asking Angus Crichton in next week, because against the West Tigers, he scored 161 against the West Tigers the last time he played him, and then he's also scored 119 in round 8 against the Dragons. So these next two games for Gus are great, and that is the exact trade I'm looking at. I'm looking at Terrell May to Crichton next week. I've got Curran in my 2RF, and he'll just flip him up. And then I've got Curran and Tarpany that'll just ride me into the sunset with Fainu as my front row forward 3. So that's my plan, I think. I think Terrell May's time is done for me.
Yeah, Agent Cheese makes a great point. You've just got a bloke that's got 110, and you're just going to turf him.
Yep. That's mate. It's a tough business, this Supercoach. I tell you what, like we head into the boardroom as Supercoaches every single week, and we're looking at real tough decisions. And it's not the easy decisions that make Supercoach. That when you're Supercoach, is it?
Of course,
you've got to make calls like this.
I can understand the hold because you will make probably 100K out of the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So
it's got a 60 odd break even next week.
So it's a 48 break even. Is it a 60 next week? Is it?
Yep.
Yucky. I didn't realize that. I will wait and see how Origin goes. I never like to prone injuries, but if Spencer Lenu just decides he doesn't want to play next week, and Angus says, you know what, just sit me out, I'd get around that. He does have the 27 and he's rolling average from last week for a couple of weeks, but it's
a 70 next week.
Oof. He is just an absolute fraud, Terrell May. I posted this on X about a week ago. He has the most fraudulent 60 average I've ever seen. Because if you look at his scores, not one of his scores go remotely close to 60. It's just the massive highs and the massive lows. It's just it's just Alex Johnston, but in front row forward, which is a very unique experience we've been having. Enough on him. Sammy Walks, 109. He is getting better and better as weeks goes on. From a Supercoach standpoint, Still a little bit inconsistent, Braino. 52 last week, 88 the week before that, 100 the week before that, 45. I think it's just going to happen when you're in a team with Tedesco, with Connor Watson, Brendan Smith, Luke Keary, Joey Manu, all these guys like to touch the ball.
Yeah,
you are going to go through peaks and troughs, but are you looking at picking him up now, or is it just gone?
Fuck no. No, he's long gone. I'm not touching Sam Walker now. I mean, 710K. He's probably gained, 100K, a bit over 100K since people brought him in for that first major buy, or even before then. I think people brought him in when Cleary got injured. So I think, yeah, it's definitely not the time to bring Sam Walker in. For me, I think when we're looking at halfback, it's tricky. It's like Nico, if you got Hughes and Walker, you hold, but you wouldn't buy because they're kind of too expensive. And then you got Matt Burton, who didn't really play that well on the weekend. And, he's got the jewel, which is nice, but Dogs don't play 19. So then, yeah, your options are limited now at halfback. And I think maybe even the play could be just hold on if you've got one of those guys, or you just wait for Cleary to get back and you take a punt on the best or one of the best halfbacks in the game for the last few years and hope he comes good, which is probably what I'll do.
It's interesting. Definitely interesting. Teddy, 84. Great for him, continuing that just brilliant stretch of footy he's playing for Supercoach. He'll be well up over 900K, which is just absurd considering I remember saying to you back in like round 8 or 9 that he was pushing 500. So, definitely made it back and more. What are you doing next year? Teddy comes in at 850. No fullback has really underperformed enough to be hugely discounted. Like even like Ponga and Turbo, that their averages are still high. And if Pappy's not goal kicking, I don't know if I want to touch that. It's like a 32-year-old Teddy? Does that entice you?
Probably not. Nah. I mean, now that I've said that, watch him come out and average 110 next year. But yeah, it's next year. It's kind of at fullback. I mean, the last 2 years we've looked at undervalued or underpriced players, haven't we, to get started? Like Pappy coming back from that long injury layoff at 600K. He was the guy. Turbo last year or the year before was like 550K. He was the guy. So, you're looking for value at fullback from these proven guns of past years. So I'm not quite sure where that's going to come from this coming year, unless Kalen Ponga has a really slow finish to the year and we can pick him up for like 600, 650K next year. That might be it. But I don't know.
Or we just hope that Cleary doesn't fire this year and he just continues to average like 65, and then you're going to save a fair bit of coin there. That's probably 300K that you would have saved elsewhere. But yeah, definitely interesting next year. It shows you where my head's at after the season that we've had this year. Joey Manu at 63, Jared Hargraves 59, and Brandon Smith 56. Dom Young 56 is a bit gross with a try, but they're the highs and lows of a high volatile centre wing.
It was also pissing down, wasn't it? Like it was a wet game for at least the first half of this game anyway, and a bit of a sloppy one. So I'm kind of letting him off on that.
I'm no mathematician, but 56 is not great, but it's better than minus 15, correct?
It is way better than minus 15. If in fact it's actually 71 points better than minus 15. So more than happy to bank that 56 points in a major buy. That's for sure.
And not much else to talk about here. The Naff White fall off, man. Remember how he was a thing for like a week?
Yeah, like maybe 72 hours, I reckon he was a thing. We kind of looked at him and we're like, yeah, not a fan. I probably don't like it considering all the talk about Connor Watson coming back into the team and all that. And quite the fall off. Not good.
Him and Victor Radley were the headline trades, I think, in like round 13 or 14. It was just absolutely wild times. For the Dogs, 8 points scored, but there's a couple of big ones. Skelton, which we said I don't know if we said, I said that he's fantastic, has a lot of defensive issues, but played great. But headlined by Jacob Carraz, 100-pointer, man oh man. People are talking about in the chat, premium center wings, who to have for the run home and whatnot. He's going to be 750. Feels yucky to buy a Bulldogs winger at 750 because as good as the Dogs have been, they haven't scored a boatload of points, but he just gets it done.
Oh, that's 100 at center as well, by the way. Not wing.
That's his 500 this year as well. And that there's a 92 in there. So, 6 scores over 90 this season for Carraz.
I bought him about maybe 7 or 8 weeks ago, and it's probably one of the better trades I've done this year. And he's still, I think, sub 20% owned in the top 1% of teams. So you could still consider Carraz a pod if you're in the overall hunt. So yeah, fantastic. But yeah, you're right. I don't know whether I'd be spending that much money on a guy in we'll call them an average team. Defensively, they've been great, and yeah, they can put on points whenever they need to. But again, they still lost this one by 18 points. So when he goes back to the wing, he's definitely a better Supercoach scorer, though. So I wouldn't take too much from this week. And if then, the positive is that he was shafted to centre and still managed to score 100. And that fucking left arm fend where he broke free and got the fucking flick to the outside for the try at the back end at the start in the first half was outstanding. So when he gets one-on-one with anybody, he's just way too big and strong, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he's a very damaging ball runner. Do we have to have a hard conversation about Josh Curran? Is his time in the sun done?
I'd be lying if I wasn't concerned. He got downgraded from 47 to 34 with a million errors and missed tackles and all sorts of other shit that he had going on. He had a shocker. But again, we're talking about a guy that had one shocker. Everyone's coming out on X or Twitter or social media and saying that Josh Curran should be dropped to cup and all this other garbage. Like, it's one bad game. So call your Jets. I reckon he's all right. I think it's because he's playing off the bench. Maybe Supercoach people are a little bit kind of in panic station saying, well, he had a bad game and he's off the bench. It's like too many red flags for me. I want to bail. But I think he's still good enough to be your front row forward 2 for the year.
His role is just so weird because, like, some of these minutes, 63, 58, 45, 57, 66, 57, 66, 45, 44, 57, 41, 65. I'll discredit last week with the 16 because that was injury affected. But even again this week, only played 43 minutes. So his role is all over the shop. He doesn't have a good enough PPM to justify 43 minutes. So he's not Terrell May in terms of just pumping out 60 points in that space. Definitely one to watch and one to consider because, 530K is a lot of money. And that could be better spent elsewhere. If you have a bit of cash going up to Payne Haas, could be ideal. But yeah, look, I'm very glad I got rid of Joe Chan because he's an AE nightmare. But so was Sam Hughes, man. I'm getting real sick of this guy. He's straight ass.
We've got to make a decision now what we do with him. Like, do we just nuff now? The problem is he's lost so much cash. We don't even make any money from nuffing him. What's he going to be now? He's going to drop 30 odd K. He's had a break even at 55 and he scored 28. So he's going to drop another 20K. He's going to be around the 300K mark. So even if you nuff him, you make 100K max. You've got to make a decision. Is that 100K gain and the fact that your VC is going to be in play every single week worth it to you? I'd probably say more often than not that it might be. I've still got him. And I don't know whether I will have the trades to trade him out, I think is the main concern for me because I've got so many other plans to finish my team off that I don't know whether I want to waste a trade on a Sam Hughes out.
Yeah, no, I fully get that as well. I understand and back that. There is a 720K halfback with a break even of 115 who decided to pump out a great score of 16 this week. So they're gonna drop about 90K. That is Matt Burton. Going to come back down to earth at about 630, and will have that pretty grim score in his rolling average for a while, considering he also has a 39 in there as well from last week. The run home ain't that bad. From rounds 22 onwards, it's the Raiders, the Dragons, the Dolphins, the Warriors, Manly, and the Cowboys. And those last 2 games are at a core. So if Cleary isn't the man firing, Birdo could bottom out at 580. I'm very tempted. Oh, even less than that, actually. Yeah, 550.
It's actually really nice. I mean, for those of us that have Dylan Brown as well, like he hasn't really been firing the way that we would hope that he would. He's good enough to play every week, but I mean, having that duel there at 5'8" halfback as your halfback bench, like you can actually just rotate him and Dylan Brown based on matchup. If your side is that strong and you're not feeling great about Dylan Brown, you can play Matt Burton with upside. So whilst I still think I'll probably just go with Cleary, the tried and tested Nathan Cleary, I think, you make a pretty good point that when Burton drops around that 500K mark again, we know that that's around his floor. I think you could probably pick him up around then.
Second last game of the round. Power to you if you managed to watch all this, because fuck me, this was drab. Rabbitohs 14-0 to the Seagulls. Damien Cook, the Dargans bound Damien Cook, 111 pointers. This was a week of the overlooked New South Wales Hookers, wasn't it?
Fuck, he was good. How good's he been the last month, 6 weeks? Like, he's been outstanding pretty much since they dropped him to Cup. He's come back with a vengeance, hasn't he? What's his last few scores? He's got 86, 96, 61, 95, and 111 in his last 5. Like, that's a rolling average. That's a 5-round
average of about 85.
Yeah, that's outstanding from Damien Cook. And again, we knew he could do this. He is capable of doing this, but he's just not been the main focal point of hooker, as it's the Harry Grant show at hooker, and then everyone's excited about Api Coruscant goal kicking. So kind of Damien Cook, everyone forgot about him this year, and he's made everyone pay the price.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting next year because we'll be having conversations in the preseason, mate. I'm sure about potential resurgence of a 34-year-old Damien Cook at the Dragons. I probably couldn't go there for 650, but I'm sure we'll be having those conversations. Oh shit! What? This is a fun fact. I've never heard of this one. Did we know Damien Cook was a beach sprinter? This is the first I've heard of this
I
news.
saw that in the chat, and I'm like, "Wow, got to throw that up." I've never seen that before. That is insane. Good on him.
I am shocked. I'll tell you who else has been good in recent weeks. That is Keon Kolomatangi. He's moved back to, or not back to 13. He's playing 13. He scored something like 5 tries in 5 weeks. Like, he's been really good at 13, and it's really handy to have him when Cam Murray goes down.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. I guess the question mark was always, how long is he going to play at lock? I didn't actually expect Cam Murray to come into the Origin team for game 2. I thought maybe he'd miss out and they'd play him in game 3, but he's just been brought straight in, which is fair enough. Like, he's a good enough player. But yeah, Keon either back on an edge or in the middle. I don't mind it either way. I think he's not a bad play, but it's an 89 break even he's covered this week, which is great. So his price will stay around that 670, 675 mark. But yeah, I mean, they play the second major bye, which is nice, but they've got the bye in round 17 next round. So we'll be talking about him in a week or two's time, I think.
I've got Keon Kolomatangi in fantasy, and I don't know if I want to double up on these obscure players. It causes too much heartache, I feel. But he got a 97, fantastic. Jai Gray with a 76 as well. Richie Kenner, cool. But the big one, Cody Walker, 49. There was a couple of whispers getting around this week, and Ange, unfortunately, was a recipient of this, that he was going to be taking the goal kicking tees, which he did, but he hit them as well as I do after half a carton of piss, mate, because he was not striking them very well.
No, that's right.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
One of the, I don't know whether you call it good or shit, but I think with the goal kicking, you wanted a bit more from Cody Walker this week. And as a non-owner, I'm absolutely thrilled that he did that, because yeah, I'm actually scared. He's one of the, like your Reece Walshes, your Turbos, the guys that you're genuinely scared not to own. Yeah. Cody Walker is in that category for me, just because he's always got the ball in his hands.
No, because I feel like I watched Cody Walker get 6 try assists and he ends up on like 85 points.
Yeah, but I've seen like Reece Walsh score a double and score 70. But I'm still scared of him because he has the ball in his hands so much. There's always, everything is happening around that player, and I'm like, fuck, I just don't want to watch. But anyway, that was nice. Jacob Gagai, 38. So we've had news come out that Ty Munro won't be back this year as well. So I'd say there's every chance that it could be Jacob Gagai's right wing for the rest of the year. So, I mean, he's still cheap. They're going right a little bit more now with Cody Walker on the right-hand side of the field.
No, this is worse than my Jack Wyden take. I'm not going back. I can't go back. I jumped off as quick as I could.
I wonder how many players you can get back in your teim after you traded him out. There's surely a record floating around somewhere.
I held this prick for 3 months just to get one fucking price rise. I'm not buying it.
So did I.
You said people that scare you when they have the ball in their hand. I'd be scared if I owned Alex Johnston. I'm not scared of him. I'm scared having him because he is not good. Pretty
ordinary. Another 20 odd. Looking at his scores this year, you kind of look at his scores and go, oh, he hasn't been that bad. 50, 40, 50, 40, 40, 50. Like, he hasn't been terrible, but then you throw in scores of 9, 27, 28, and he starts to become that there's no upside there anymore. It's like, even if he scored a try in 3 of those scores that I mentioned. So
he has to score a try game to average 50. Gone are the days where we're playing PVL ball and, he's getting, I think the NRL Fantasy Amateurs put it up on there, because they're quite big in the fantasy space, about his 2021 stats. And I don't think we can look at 2021 stats. We saw it with Brian Toto. We saw it with Turbo. We've seen it with guys that just have monster even Ruben Garrick. For as good as Garrick still is, he was averaging 95 on the wing. And it's just we can't take that stats anymore. And AJ's got to be scoring a try game to average 50. And I want more than 50 in round 19.
Yeah, and with Simple Jack on the left as well, his running game is just so dominant, isn't it? That he barely looks to his outside. So yeah, I don't think it's the time to pick up AJ.
AJ could be handy next year because if he continues to be shit, they get Lewis Dodd. So if Lewis Dodd is going to be playing on the right and you're going to go back to Cody Troll and AJ on the left, then it could be great. But definitely one to watch in the trials and see how they go. Apart from that, I'm loving Pete Mamazoulias scoring 12 points. If he can do this every week, I'm going to be fucking over the moon. because I want him to average about 14 for the rest of the season.
Yeah, hooker 2 next year. Thanks for coming.
Mate, I don't know. It could be hooker 1. Like the way that we constructed our forward this year. Could be
it might
Sam
not be
Hughes.
Danny Levi, Joey Lussick. It might be Pete Mamazoulis and fucking maybe Damien Cook's hooker 1 next year. Who knows?
Yeah. No, mate, it could just be we could just go Sam Hughes, Dave Mawali, Pete Mamazoulis, hooker 1, and front row forward 1 too. Yes,
we could. Shout out to Cheese. We had a chat in the Discord about AJ versus Saab, and we got it right, boys. We got it right. We got an extra 9 points this week. We'll take that. We'll take that this year. But talk to me about standout number 7, halfback from the Manly Sea Eagles, Carl Lawton, with a 60.
Yeah. I didn't actually play halfback, but was still great. 63 points. Shout out to him. I want to talk about standout. Most improved player, Manly savior, let him cook, Luke Brooks, because seems like when the lights were brightest, he shit the bed.
We haven't seen that before, have we?
No. I
feel bad.
0 points led by Luke Brooks.
Yeah, I feel bad shitting on him, but
Manly fans will tell you he's the most improved player this year.
Sorry, he's what?
Manly fans keep telling you he's the most improved player this year.
Yes, so improved. Yeah, this has been all DCE all year.
Is that the same most improved that you give to like under 6s when it's like the shittest player on the team?
Yeah.
To make
Participation award, Luke Brooks. Congratulations. It's one of those ones where I think everyone had these high hopes, and you know what? Everyone blames the Tigers because we're shit, and it's an easy way for you to kind of bail out any player that plays for us. It's like, it's okay. He played for the Tigers. He's going to be so much better where he went. And, guys like Tommy Talao and all that. Great.
Tommy Talao is actually pretty good.
They've all improved. Fantastic. And for the most part, we are shit. But for Luke Brooks, we've been talking about Luke Brooks for years and years about the fact that he's just not the guy. And everyone was disagreeing with us, saying that he is. And, we've given him 2/3 of a season, but he's not.
He's a good 2. I wouldn't say a great 2. I'd say he's a good
100%.
2.
100%.
And yeah, when he has to lead a team, not great. But yeah, not much to talk about here from the Manly Sea Eagles. They scored 0 points, but there's a couple of Supercoach relevant players to talk about. Finally, after about 4 weeks, I feel vindicated on Lehigh Hopewadi. Finally get my justice there. But there was a comment here that I started earlier. Oh, goodness, where is this? This is great audio content from our boy Agent Cheese. Seabold said Turbo back from round 18 on extended bench per physio. I didn't read per physio bit, but if you're going to get Lehigh Hopewadi for a couple more weeks, then fantastic. But that 38 is going to stunt the cash growth. You probably get 2 more good weeks out of him, and then it probably will start to dry up a little bit.
Just because he's also going to be named on the extended bench doesn't mean that he doesn't come in and play fullback. There's a lot of talk floating around about the fact that he could play at centre. He might play at fucking 5'8". Like, I've seen all sorts of wild chat about Turbo. And I think there is I reckon there's a 75% chance he plays fullback and everything just goes back to normal. I think they've talked in the past about Turbo and looking into the stats around like how many runs you make at fullback versus at center and how much workload you get through, how much contact you get through. And it's very, very similar fullback to center. So for me, if that tells me anything, it says that he's just going to go back to doing what he was doing if there isn't a substantial decrease in the amount of load that he gets through per game. So yeah, Lehigh Hopewadi, definitely not a guy you're going to be jumping on from now. I wouldn't have thought.
And last game of the round, the mighty West Tigers.
How long we got?
Mate, I got all night. I got as long as we need to dissect the 48-point masterclass that we put on the Raiders, who scored 24, bit of a fraudulent 24. They scored 3 tries in about 5 minutes when Alex Seyfarth was sin-binned, but plenty to chat about here with Appy Coruscant. I think it's not a debate, the best night in the game.
Yeah, when we're talking straight football, absolutely. No Supercoach chat at the moment, but yeah, Appy has to be the most... probably the most creative in attack and the best attacking 9 in the comp. I think if we're talking about the best defensive 9 in the comp, I still think it's probably Reece Robson. But yeah, best attacking 9 by far, hands down. And, it's if you put him back in that Penrith team the last 2 years, they would have absolutely run rings around anyone. And they nearly did anyway. But, I think there's been an adaptation, I should say, for him at the Tigers. But 147, that is massive. So anybody that jumped on him, you'd be very happy. Kicked, what did he kick? How many goals?
Would you be very happy?
I'd be very happy. Absolutely.
Hey. Yeah, he had a day. He had 1 try, 3 try assists, 2 line break assists. Goodness me, 8 goals, 1 offload, 3 tackle breaks, the 40 tackles in the middle, and 7 hit ups, 2 of them being over 8 meters. So shout out to him. He did have, Jesus Christ, 7 missed tackles and a penalty conceded. What could have been? That could have been like 160.
Yeah, and it could have been even bigger in fantasy if you're if you're playing that game, because you get penalised much heavier on missed tackles over there.
As a fantasy owner, it was stressful, but mate, we'll still take it all day long. You said Appy's running rings around the competition. Lockie Galvin should have run rings around Dally M Rookie of the Year, but is ineligible. 101 points from him, mate. This was unreal. There was so much chat about selling him in Supercoach because of the hand injury and the contract stuff, but kid knows ball. Kid knows ball, and he is unreal. I'm going to be heartbroken when he is in the red, white, and blue in about 3 years' time.
Yes, look, as sad as it is, I think he's going to be gone when his contract's up, isn't he? Like, he's come out and he said, I'm going to stick with the Tigers and I want to rebuild with them and all that kind of shit. And that's all well and good to say on the spot, but
he keeps saying he's going to see out his contract, which worries me because that tells me that he's not signing a new one.
Yes, correct. Exactly.
But I don't know. If we can turn around next year, it'd be good. Hopefully, like, Jerome has a big impact on him. And Jerome and Lockie's going to hit like crack. And there's going to be a couple of cracked ribs with Adam Dewey and Justin Ullum in the centers. And we'll talk on Adam Dewey in a second. But we want to talk on Semi Fainu. I feel like it's 85 could have been a whole lot more. He had the try assist disallowed on the bullet try with the jump ball. He had another one where he went super close as well. But like, this is the best game that Semi Fanu's played as well. And Manly fans will also tell you he's a liability. And
terrible player.
Manly a terrible player, bad off the field, carries baggage. But man, this was his best game.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I'm an owner of Semi Fainu, and I think if you have him as your front row forward too for the rest of the year, you would not be upset. And I think it's not a bad play to spend up elsewhere if you've got him there. But yeah, pretty reliable to play every week, I would have thought. And obviously with the Tigers, they don't have a bye coming up until like round 24 or 5 or something like that. So yeah, you can lean on these guys a little bit, which is great. But Adam Dewey, like, away from Supercoach for a second, I think everyone had their doubts around Adam Dewey coming back and playing center and all this, but it was just nice to see him back out in the field. Like, some of the runs that he took out of his own end were awesome. Like, no fear, felt like his body was ready. It looked like they gave him a lot of extra time to get ready as well. So he was confident when he came back, and he hadn't missed a beat. He was fantastic. He was probably one of the best on field for us, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he was great. I mean, Physio put up a thing today, just inspiration to players that have gone through injuries. I mean, I've had my issues with Adam doing comments that he's made on political issues away from footy, but separating the player and the person, it's great to see him back. When he took that intercept and just went 80 meters, and Kale Weeks is not slow. And Adam Dewey gave him clean pair of heels. So it was really nice to see that there. And Mark makes a good point here. Shame that he's only available at 5'8", but Benji's looks like he's giving him that roaming sort of role. And we don't have a creative 13 as much as we think it's Matamori. He's not given that license, and it probably won't be when Bateman comes back as well. So we're going to have pretty much 4 ball players on the field, which is what most teams do, but ours are going to be constructed a bit differently with Caesar, Galvin, Buller, and now Adam Dewey roaming in the centers. But yeah, really, really nice. I think we're a winger away from having a really good back line. I expect it to be something like Buller with Olam and AD in the centers next year with, Galvin and Luai. And then on the wings, it's just like, I don't trust Charlie Staines. I mean, if Brett Naden can just not do Brett Naden things, he could be an okay, bigger bodied winger, but we're just a couple of those away. But yeah, really great to see him. No Supercoach relevance for me, unfortunately, but great to see him back.
Especially because like round 18, the final dual change kicks in, and he won't have enough games at centre, unfortunately, to get that. So they usually look at 3 games.
Yeah. Sfano Utoy Kambanu scores a try, 69 points. Some owners were bailed out because he wasn't having the greatest first half, but nice, nice option close to the line. Dream Buller, 66. The other Fainu, 63 as well. And then there was a couple of the lower league boys. Luke on debut scored a nice try, and so it was nice to see him from there as well. But nothing else to talk about here. Alex Seyfarth, 38. There was a comment saying that we were talking about the RTS sin bin, and I think John said he thought Seyfarth was over the top. I believe Seyfarth was for dissent. So
Yeah.
I'm all for that. You know, if players are abusing refs, then just give them fucking 10. That's fine for me.
If he doesn't get sin binned, probably scores 50, which you wouldn't be upset about at all as an owner, I think, with Safar. I nearly bought him in fantasy. I'm lucky I bailed on that at the last minute. But
I forgot. We have Taruva next year as well. I forgot about him.
Yeah.
So
he's coming.
look up.
We only need one more good winger. We're good.
Reuben Porter, he's not a good winger, but he's also not a great Supercoach option. But hey, you did the job. 35 points. If I never see him again, I'll be happy.
I think you probably prefer to never see him again, wouldn't you? It's one of those situations now, isn't it, where it's like, cool, he's been the number for 16. We were hoping he was going to be the number for 19, but the news came out midweek that John Bateman was back next week. So that's probably all but crushed, all but gone.
There might be a world. There might be a world because Alex Twile probably won't be back next week with his continual head knock issues. There could be a world where they use. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Clem is coming back. There could be a world where they just use Bateman off the bench for a week or two. And I'd love that if we can get Porter to 19 somehow, and then he just banishes. That'd be great because IPAP's back in early 20 as well. So apart from that, not a whole lot to talk about from the Tigers from a Supercoach standpoint. From the Raiders, Nick Cottridge somehow scourged his way to a 106 pointer. Well done to the probably 0.1% of teams that own him. KO Weeks with 101. He's definitely owned by more than 0.1% of teams. He's really good. He's a really good footy player. Manly. They had to let him go. He was never going to play over Brooks or DCE, and you're never going to play over Turbo. But been given a new lease of life at the Raiders, and he looks fantastic.
Yes, he's been so good. I mean, we haven't talked too much Supercoach in the last 10 minutes or so because there's so many good options and good players to go through. And I think KO Weeks is at the top of this list in terms of talent. Like, he's got some wheels. Guy can run. He's also shown that he can lead a team around the park as well, which has been probably the most impressive thing for me. I thought that Ethan Strange and KO Weeks as a half and 5'8" combination was going to be a recipe for disaster for the Raiders, to be honest, because KO Weeks has always been a runner.
How good Fogarty was playing as well. Like, Fog was playing unreal.
Yeah. And to see him, have the organizational skills to make sure that his team are in the right spots and the kicking game as well has been pretty impressive. So yeah, happy days for Raiders fans moving forward. I think with Weeks and Strange at the helm there, and it'll be very interesting to see what they do when Fogarty's back. I think around 23 or so. So that'll be interesting to see what they do in a couple of months' time. Yeah,
it's interesting because Strange is obviously the future, but he is much more inconsistent than Weeks is. So it will be interesting to see what Ricky Stewart does. And, is there a world where they put Weeks at fullback? I'm not too sure. Definitely glad I'm not a coach. But you're a Joey Tarpany on 76 points from him. We advocated for him a couple of weeks ago and finally paying some dividends, 650K. He is going to be probably around 675. Doesn't play 19, so I wouldn't be looking at jumping on anytime soon. But how are you feeling about Joey Tarpany? You probably watch him a lot closer than I do. Is he a guy that we should be targeting after 19?
Look, I still think, and I said this on the Q&A pod on Thursday, I still think that Payne Haas is probably the number one guy that you want to be targeting on the run home. Joey Taps, his appeal was maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago when he bottomed out in price. That's probably why he was so popular, because he was at, I think I got him at 613K or something like that. Like, he was super cheap, or maybe even late 500s. But I wouldn't be buying him at 700. I'd be looking at, Payne Haas, I think, is number one option. AFB, I'd probably still prefer him, even though he had a low score this week. We talked about the Warriors draw earlier, and we know he finds the line. So, yeah, I'd probably prefer those two guys. But, yeah, as an owner, very happy, very happy. I got him at a discount price, and he's come in, and there was only a line break assist, I think, today, and the rest was basically base power. So, we're talking 64 in BP, which, again, is what you'd expect when you buy him. But, yeah, happy owner.
Cool. Not much else to talk about. The couple of mid scores. We scrolled into Morgan Smithies. Now, I was watching him very closely because we had a couple of bets on him for player performance, and his minutes have been decreasing week after week. Like, he was playing 80 minutes week after week, and now it's dropped down to 60, dropped down to 55, dropped down to 41 in recent weeks. And this week he played 51 and then didn't come back on for the last half an hour. 415K with a 47 break even, has now covered all the buy rounds. If you're still holding on to him, Heelan Lukey is the most obvious trade in that I can think. Like, that's if you have Smithies, I think Heelan Lukey is staring you right in the face and just asking for you to trade Smithies to him.
Yeah, 100%. I think, like, we should be at a point now, hopefully, where we've planned well enough that we've got numbers for 19, or we've got enough time anyway. We've got 2 more weeks to get numbers for 19, so you don't have to make every trade about that final buy.
Yeah, the beauty of next week is it's not like round 14 where there was like a lot of relevant teams on the mini buy. This week, I think next week there's some pretty unrelevant. I think there's some unrelevant Supercoach teams that have the mini buy. So we shouldn't be stuffed for numbers next week. If you had a good team this week, you should have a good team next week. So yeah, Smithies to Lukey, man. That's probably the most obvious one I could think of.
Yeah, I moved him on a while ago, Smithies, but yeah, that's a pretty solid option, I think. I haven't looked too much at options for next week, but that's what Tuesday's for. So we'll dive into that when that time comes. But yeah, not really much else going on with the Raiders here, is there really? And they don't play around 19. So yeah, probably less relevant than a few other teams that we'll probably talk about on Tuesday. But how good Tigers going to win, mate? It's nice for once to come into this pod feeling good about it.
No, because we're going to get fucking crushed again. I remember we got back-to-back wins in like round 3 and 4, and I was like, we're back. And then we weren't. But got a feel for Parramatta. They get an automatic 2 points this week and finish the week on the bottom. That has to be a first to get guaranteed win and lose positions and finish at the bottom, because we won, Titans won, Souths won, all by good margins.
Fuck, I did not realise that. That is gold. That's got to be one of the first times ever.
Para on the bottom of the ladder, which is wild because they made a grand final 3 years ago. But yeah, they went down because we stayed in 16th and the Titans leapfrogged and they went down like 2 spots because of for and against. So crazy stuff.
Insane times. Insane. Mate, there's a lot of questions about your basket in the background. And I know you put it there tactically because there were requests last week.
I definitely have not, but I just forgot to do it. But yeah, so for some reason that's more popular than me, which is wild. But yeah, glad for it.
Let's rip it. We've got a couple of questions to answer, mate. When do final updates happen? Your guess is as good as ours, Reece. It's usually going to be overnight.
Normally it's around midnight, thereabouts.
Yeah. And, if you're someone that goes in and looks at your leagues to try and work out your up-to-date ranking, don't bother doing that until like 9 a.m. tomorrow morning because they don't actually update. You'll notice when you look at your leagues to find out your rank that all the total points are all in the wrong order. So, yeah, don't stress too much until a little bit closer to lockout if you really want to get a bit of a sneak peek ahead.
Or just play AFL where it's done.
You can play AFL or any other Supercoach sport. Yeah,
literally.
And it'll come nice and quick. Ian Johnson, what do the Tigers do? Do they keep the team that they just played today, or do they go back to having Bateman, IPAP, Olam, Naden, etc.?
Oh, I mean, Olam deserves a spot. So does IPAP and Bateman. It's probably going to be Olam and Dewey in the centers. Fainu, IPAP, and then Bateman at 13.
Yeah, I think it has to be. I think the IPAP lock experiment was fine, but I just don't think that there's a spot there at lock when you've got Bateman. Like maybe they'll interchange and one of them will play 13, one of them will play 12. I think they'll probably just flick between because both can. But yeah, I think that our best team, we played 14 out of our top 30 weren't available in this game, which is just wild to think of the margin that we just beat Canberra by. So good on the young blokes for giving it a crack. But yeah, we'll see a very different team if we get healthy, which we should be excited about. Michael Griffiths, why do Friday's games take 3 days to update? Yeah, we talked about that. Lachlan Patterson, who's the premium center option to upgrade?
Oh, sorry, I do, as much as thanks to cop shit, I want it known that it's not Supercoach that score the games. I want people to realize that. It's the same as when they jump on and be like, oh, why does the NRL app have a player that has 55 tackles, but Supercoach has them for 45? So Fox Sports are the ones that have the stats. That's what Supercoach feed off. And then I think the reason why it takes so long is because they have no need to update them. So the Thursday games get updated pretty quickly because I think there's a Friday's talk show where they want the stats finalized, and then they don't have another show until Matty John's on Sunday night. So there's no need for scores to actually update over the weekend. The people that work at Fox Sports pretty much just don't do anything until Sunday when they need the stats finalized for like the Matty John show and stuff. So I know that people like always take the piss out of Sangster and stuff, and that's whatever. But like if you want a proper explanation, it's to have scores finalized for the broadcast shows that they do on Fox. Yeah,
that's fair. Ruins the narrative, but
I know. But like if people actually are looking for a genuine question as to why it does take so long, it's done through Fox Sports. That's why.
And also the tackle thing that you mentioned, why the tackle numbers are different. It's because the NRL.com app counts third man in for tackle numbers. And obviously with the Fox Sports scoring, they don't count the third man in. So that's why you'll see the discrepancy there. Lachlan Patterson, who's a premium centre option to upgrade Farlongo to if you have Dom Young, Manu, and Garrick already?
Brian To'o, Jacob Carraz.
Carraz may be a bit expensive. I mean, if you're choosing between To'o and Carraz, it's To'o every day. I think based on previous form and the fact that Penrith, what are they coming at the moment? Are they second or third? Second.
What about that New Zealand winger, Dallin Watson-Zelezniak? Do you like him?
Yeah, no, I think he's a better option than Jaden Campbell. So let's look. I think centre wing's wide open at the moment, and I think Asako could be an option. Your two Roosters guys are pretty lock and load, really. Garrick, you hold, but it's pretty wide open for that kind of centre wing 4-5 spot. So there's a few options. Maybe we'll talk about them on Tuesday, but I'd say Carraz probably in the running with To'o. Fisher, is May the fraud or is he the victim of his coaching hatred of super coaches?
He's not a fraud in like real life. He's just a super coach fraud because like his average, you'll go through and be like, oh, he's averaging 65, but then you look at his score, he's had like 2 scores are actually 65 and the rest are like 100 or 12.
Yeah, that's true. It's but honestly, if he got minutes, first of all, how the fuck did he play 80 minutes in the middle of the field?
He's the greatest player of all time. He would overtake Corey Parker as like the GOAT forward of all time.
Yeah, if he played even 60 minutes every single week, he would average 75 comfortably. So, yeah, just disappointing he doesn't get the minutes there. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We'll just have to deal with that. Reece, surely it's illegal to sell May when he's up against the Tigers and the Origin boys might play limited minutes next week. Did we think that in round 14 and he shattered up too?
Yeah, he didn't. I don't think he did fantastic in 14.
From memory, it was like 40 or 50. 40.
He's the greatest. He's the greatest player of all time in Vegas, round 13 and round 16.
Or just when he gets opportunity. That's pretty much it. You know, he's Supercoach catfished us early on, and luckily we held on. Grimesy wants to know, is Barnett at front row forward a good option? I have May and AFB already, and I think my answer is if you've already got both of those guys, I don't know whether you need a third gun at front row.
No, and like, as much as I love Mitch Barnett, the Warriors are in fucking freefall, and like no idea what they're going to do. Like I've seen Warriors fans talk about like just rotating a lot of stuff. Barnett would have to play middle. Like he would have to play middle because like he is very mediocre when he plays on the edge. He was at the Nuts. I don't know how he's gone at the Warriors. I haven't watched him too close, but like his good scores have come from the middle. But like averaging 62.3, 62.9, it's not like he's knocking down the door to be an option.
Yeah, I agree. All right, where's this next question at? I missed it. I lost it. What did we score this week? I got, I think, 1086 I'm on at the moment before updates. 1105 updates have just come in. So if you want to check your scores, guys, as of 8:40 p.m., it looks like updates are in. I won't speak for Matrix because I think he'll be back on Tuesday, but would you finish up?
I've somehow lost scores somehow. 903? I don't know. Mine's playing up because I didn't select Max Plath.
No, you're good. You're up to 1037.
Oh, okay.
Hang on. Sorry, I'm looking at round 14. Sorry, disregard.
Wow, what a needle. What a needle. I was like, wow. Mine's playing up because I didn't actually select Max Plath, so it's like counting him as an AE, but it's not. At the moment, it's 903, but it'll update, so I'm hoping around 950.
Matrix has the crown this week as well, so well done to him. We'll have to organise a plastic crown for him for Tuesday if he can make it on. But last one from Jamie Camilleri. Moving Liam Henry on, I mean, who do we get? It's a bit of an open question. But if we're talking front row forward, what's your order of preference for the run home for front row?
I'm hoping we've got Jules because Angus Crichton would be the top priority. But if we don't have Jules, let me quickly filter by front row forward and let's have a couple look at some names. And then Payne Haas, but like, do you want to get him now? Probably not because he sucks backing up. AFB is still averaging, ridiculous amounts. I would probably go Haas, AFB, Daylight. Like, if you're sorting it by average, it's like Mitch Barnett, who's like a massive 10-point drop off. Joey Tarpany, who, I know you own, but he's not Payne Haas.
Yeah.
And Ruben Cotter is just very mediocre. And Tyrone May, we're talking about selling. So, and then the next guy is like Jack DeBell, and I've got him, and he's apparently the 8th best front row forward, and I'm looking to turf him. So front row forward is very grim. Hopefully you've got the jewels and just go get yourself a, Angus Crichton or a Hamali Olakau'atu.
Yeah, very interesting couple of weeks of trades leading up to the final major buy, but yeah, that'll do us, guys. Thanks for hopping on. Appreciate all the comments. We will be back on Tuesday night as always to talk you through TLT for round 17. So stay tuned till then. Have a good one, and we will see you then. Catch you later.
Cheerio.